Welcome to MalcolmPresents.com and our show, Sid and Malcolm. And it's Sid Mandelbaum. And you're listening to it on MalcolmPresents.com, a new streaming platform that's has a little bit of everything. Sid, what's happening?
I'll start out by something really great. We had our first large tribute dinner fundraising golf outing yesterday, first one in 3 years. And it was very well attended. We actually honored a family, the Fabrizio family that own Independent Coach Bus Company, which is a bus company that handles a lot of the five towns. And reasons why we honored them was their patriarch, who sadly passed away in September, was a very good friend of mine for 30 years. And whenever Rock and Wrap It Up was getting a huge donation from the New York Football Giants or from the New York Yankees, I could always depend on Nick Fabrizio to donate a bus and driver to drive to the stadiums and do the pickups. And we, over the last 15 years, probably received probably $3 to $4 million in merchandise
Wow.
from all of these places. And we never could have gotten them had it not been for the magnanimousness of Nick and his family. And so when I spoke to him about being honored a year and a half ago, he was begrudgingly accepting. Sadly, he passed away in September, but his family said they would like for me to continue what we were doing is to honor the family. And we had our tribute dinner yesterday, and this is the brochure that we had made up. This is
The annual golf outing.
and this is Rock and Wrap It Up information that I always like to put out there. So the journal itself was comprised of all of the foursomes got a free journal ad, a full page. And quite a number of people bought journal ads to honor the family. We also have in there a lot of our donors, our sport teams, our rock bands, our individual companies. They all were active in helping us to raise funds yesterday. And we had great weather. Wound up having it at a place called the Rockaway Hunting Club in Lawrence, New York. One of the oldest clubs on Long Island from 1878, was a hunting club till 1910, when it became a golf course, and it's been a golf course over 100 years now. And everyone really enjoyed themselves.
You play golf?
I do.
I didn't know that.
I don't play often, sadly, and I hadn't played since I had my knee replaced, so I was not keeping score, but I did have fun, and a lot of my strokes came back. My body's different. My legs are different lengths, of the same length now, which they weren't before. So you have to correct that in your golf swing. And I just love going out. It was a beautiful day, and had a very interesting situation. Our caddy, who was 76 years old, very tall guy named Dennis, white hair. And he said, what do you do? I said, well, I spent most of my life as a scientist doing DNA genetics, cancer research. And my partner, Bob Fishman, has been involved in marketing for his whole life. And we said, Dennis, what did you do? He said, I was the superintendent of schools for Great Neck Schools.
Ah.
I retired 58 years ago. I retired at age 58. He says, I love what I do. I work as a caddy when I want, and they allow me to play golf 3 days a week after 5 p.m. for the rest of my life. That's a life.
So he loves the summertime.
Life well lived, exactly. And he was a great caddy. But it would just break an image of what you think of a caddy.
You're thinking of these young kids.
Yeah, this is a PhD in math, that worked as a superintendent. But what I want to talk about is something which is, I believe, going to be very ominous for our country. And it's something that is already beginning And I think it's going to only get worse. And I will not talk politics here, but it has very much to do with the way our country is being run today, sadly.
I hate to tell you, everything is politics.
I will not bring in politics.
Okay.
But what I will bring in is something that is going to be very dire. And that is by the fall, they are already speaking about food shortages in the United States. And the real issue that people will not comprehend is that no one will be affected more than the poor by food shortages. We right now, as Rock and Wrap It Up, do food recovery. I do it 7 days a week. We run a veteran farmers market Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. And if the food shortages are going to manifest themselves, as I believe they will, there will be a dramatic decline in the donation of food to agencies like ours. There will be less food purchased. There'll be less backup. There'll be less food donated that is short dated. They'll sell food till the last end date. And the poor will suffer more than anyone else in this country. Right now, there are between 30 and 40 million Americans that are food insecure. That number will never change. As good as our economies have been, as bad as they have been, that number is a constant. It's 10% of America is at risk and will always be. So we have a need to feed them. I never judge why people are at risk. It's not my business. But if I'm there to feed them, that's all I care about doing, is getting food from agencies that will donate to us when they can. And that's the big if. Will Trader Joe's, will Costco's, will all of the smaller establishments that we get donations from every day, Panera, Chipotle, will they have food to donate if there's a shortage of raw ingredients? Will they be able to keep staff hired if their volume of sales decreased because of less food on the shelves? If they sell, they could hire people. Will the stores be put on timings? Will they be open 7 days a week? Will the hours be as they are now? Or will you be given a time frame when to go shopping? All of these have happened over the last 200 years in countries that have gone through deflations. In our own country, in the 1930s, there was a Great Depression. But the Great Depression not just affected people, it affected establishments that went out of business because they couldn't pay their rent.
Right.
And all this adds up to an ominous thing that I hope will never happen, but I have to be pragmatic and find ways that we could overcome these.
Well, I have two questions. Number
Sure.
one, is it only a food shortage, or would there be a shortage of everything like paper, supplies, and other type
Well,
of grocery?
that's already started to happen. I will tell you that I heard today from someone that does work in the economic world that they're predicting a shortage of feminine products, feminine hygiene products. That will be the next shortfall. That will be awful. There will be, without capitalism, and capitalism drives our country, there will not, if things aren't sold, people are not paid. And it comes down to, we need to have a robust economy to have people paid. And if people aren't paid, there can't be a robust economy because there's no money to buy anything.
Right.
So it's a very vicious cycle, which I'm not going to say it can happen, but these are the sad byproducts when there is a deflation of everything. And if there is less items to sell, that will be the deflation, not inflation that we're having now.
Okay. Now, my next question would be, is there a way of avoiding this? Is there preparation that we could do? Well, actually, the next question is, why will this happen? And then followed up by, how do we prevent this from happening?
Well, a couple of things are happening right now. There will be a small bump in the worldwide purchasing of wheat. One of the largest suppliers of wheat in the world is the Ukraine.
Right.
And they have been the breadbasket for the world. They have incredibly fertile land. They have used really great husbandry techniques to keep their product yield high. And over the next couple of months, I believe that the Russians are going to destroy systematically all produce of that nature, soy, wheat, corn, that they've been supplying the world with, will be destroyed by the Russians. That's number one. Number two, our country is very much based on gasoline. Almost every product that is used to harvest in this country is gas powered. If gasoline remains high as it is, there will be reason not to grow product, but to wait, because they can get more money for their product is if there's a shortage of products. And I believe that will happen in our country. I believe that capitalism will hit the American breadbasket, and they may be holding back the growth of all of the grain products to get more at the marketplace.
Well, that had been hadn't that been a way of the Department of Agriculture of having the price of those products high anyway? Because didn't they pay the farmers not to grow?
At one time they did.
Yeah.
But at this point, they would be paying the farmers to grow.
Yeah.
To do the opposite. If the farmers are looking to make more money, then if there's a subsidy on the other end, and what is that going to do? That's going to decline the price of the dollar. We'll have to print more money, which is what we do when things like this happen. If we see what we're doing now with the shortage of baby products, baby formula, they are looking to upgrade production, and there is going to be continued support of that industry. But I believe that we are at a tipping point. The supply chain issues are going into places that they have not been before. And I believe it's going to come down to the consumer having to pay a lot more.
Yeah, well, yeah, your opening statement that the poor are going to be hurt the most, which is actually, no matter what happens, the poor are hurt the most. Because if you're rich, you're going to buy it no matter what price it is, unless
middle
no
class, exactly, middle class can buy. But again, because we are in a niche that gets overproduced, oversold, overbought product lines, that's what we get. I paid attention today of what we picked up at our farmers market. And we got 2 bushels of corn. We got 25 watermelons. We got 3 big boxes of bananas, quite a lot of peppers. And I looked at all of those, and these are diet staples that people eat. If they're not going to buy watermelon so that they don't have any left, there'll be no watermelon. Corn is inexpensive because that has yet to be affected by price increases. They may hold corn till the last day, and that will not be available to us in the volume. Now, I may have to go into a situation to limit my veterans as to what they could take. If I have limited amount of donated product, I have to go back to the drawing board and seeing how could I make sure that all of the families that come to avail themselves of our farmers market will have. And I have yet to do that, Malcolm. I never limit. I don't ask people why they take or how much they take
Right.
because we've had so much overabundance. And these are just, food for thought without
Food for thought.
without being punny.
I know, but there's certain things which I don't quite understand. And supposedly, we have the best entrepreneurs, the best businessmen, the best CEOs, the ones who are educated in finance. Now, one thing I can't see is, let's say what happened with the shortage of baby formula. We had, I think it was like in February, I think it was like, I think it was Abbott that
Abbott is the main manufacturer.
yeah, I think they were like
Similac.
75-80% of the baby formula in this country.
Right.
Now, this factory was shut down because probably for just reason, because of
Bacteria.
safety things they had. But for the life of me, why wasn't the president informed of this? Supposedly, certain people in the government were, but according to President Biden, he wasn't informed of it till April.
I don't believe that at all.
No, you think that he's
Yeah, I think he's lying. I think he knew about it in February, but there was nothing that he had in place to change that.
right?
What they should have done, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but take a look at other countries. Take a look at Canada. Take a look at South America. Don't even have to go to Europe. Take a look at other countries that are manufacturers.
Yeah, and get
Speak to them, and it wasn't done.
right. That's what I don't understand. And also as far as things like computer chips. I
Right.
mean, we were short on computer chips. It was all last year. We weren't building anything because you didn't have the computer chips. Didn't our country know, the businessmen? I'm not talking about the government, but didn't the businessmen in our country know that we're too reliant on foreign countries to produce our computer chips?
Absolutely.
And the thing is, they were probably financing it. I mean, to me, there is no American company or a foreign country. They're all international. Even though they're produced in another country, the money behind it, I guarantee you, as I always say, show me the money. The money behind it probably was a lot of American investments.
Absolutely. And where was government intervention? It wasn't
Right.
there.
And
They weren't protecting you and I. That is how I look at it.
Mhm.
I need watchdogs in our government. Their whole job should be preventing problems. That's what a watchdog does.
Preventing screw ups. But again, I mean, let's say you don't want to get politics involved, but it's political. It's why well, I mean, that's simplicity. Simplistic. It was
Yeah.
like the Republicans versus the Democrats. The Democrats want the government more or less to be the watchdogs and to control certain things. And the Republicans said, no, we should be independent. The government shouldn't run it because they can't run businesses. But yet the business community has screwed up.
Yeah.
But both of them have screwed it. And the government.
It doesn't matter who's in power.
Right.
They haven't protected you and I.
Right.
And that's something we could all agree on, that we need those watchdogs to, now more than ever, to be able to tell the president, whether he heard it or not. From now on, I want to hear anything that could somehow be proactively done.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things you can't control. Well, you can't control eventually, but what's going to happen in, let's say, to me, the underlying question to this whole thing, or the underlying things that frightens me, is climate control. Why the climate change? Why? Because we're talking about food shortages. In India, the farmers aren't harvesting anything. Why? Because their crops are drying up because there's no water. It's the temperatures are over 100 degrees. Farmers aren't going in the field during the daytime.
But that is, again, you and I have different definitions of climate change. I'm an earth scientist. I don't view climate change as anything that man can affect.
Yeah, that's where we differ.
And I believe that this is part of a geological time element that has gone on ad nauseum forever of how our planet changes.
Okay.
And it's happened, at least there have been ice ages 7 or 8 times over the last 15 million years. And it happens because of a change, a couple of things. Sometimes there is a change in the tilting of the planet that no one could change. It's a globe that spins.
Right.
300 or 400 million years ago, there was a change in the polarity of our planet, where north and south was south and north. We changed our magnetic field on its own. The planet did that. And it affected, and you can see this through a lot of the ferrous or iron ores. You could see changes within the ores when those changed, and they're able to see this.
Well, again, I'm not the scientist, but I know that the Earth spins on its axis, and I know that with every like an earthquake or every major seismic thing in the Earth, the axis changes just a fraction of a fraction.
Absolutely, there's something called plate tectonic theory.
Okay,
and the issue that I have is that at this point in time, with our planet where it is, I want to pull out of the Paris Accords completely, because the only buy-in we have is the United States and part of the EU. We have no buy-in from India, no buy-in from China, no buy-in from Russia. So all of what we do, which is less than 15% of the planetary things that people are looking to do by reducing the carbon footprint, has no effect on the other 3 countries and what their output is. And because of that, you have decisions that were made that absolutely are right now where we have no ability of changing it for the next 2 years. And that is the pipeline. We were energy independent, and now we're not. The world was buying energy from the United States. Now they're not. We have lost income on a monetary level, but we, as an independency, we've lost our independence of power. And I am so upset that we have to pay I don't know what it is in California. It's $5.10 a gallon of gas here. It was $1.40 2 years ago. $1.40.
It's 6 and change up over here. But I want to get to the basic question. If we can't do anything about it, if the the course of nature will continue the way it is, and in your opinion, and we don't do anything we don't do anything that can correct it, in your opinion is we can't, will the Earth be destroyed within a certain amount of years?
No, not at all.
You think it's going to flip around again naturally?
Absolutely.
Even if we don't do anything about the carbon footprint?
Nothing will change. And I will tell you a theory which is taught by geologists and earth scientists. It's called Hutton's theory of uniformitarianism. Mm-hmm. Hutton's theory basically says that if you see a force of nature acting now, you could assume that that force has been acting for hundreds and hundreds of millions of years. If you take a look at the Colorado River has cut a gorge, and that gorge is now 1,000 feet deep. When you see the river cutting, the assumption is that it's been cutting for the last 100 million years, which is how it cut the Grand Canyon. Mm-hmm. When you see an oxbow happening in a river, and that oxbow continues to cut, that's happened for hundreds of millions of years. So you could even though you weren't there 100 million years ago,
Talk for yourself.
using Hutton's theory of uniformitarianism, you have to make these assumptions that these forces have always been around and continue to shape our planet.
No, but being very simplistic, I listen to, I read reports, and it seems like a majority of the scientists, I'm talking about, 75, 80%.
Yeah.
Of scientists say we can reduce, if we reduce the carbon footprint, that we can save the planet. Now, I get what you're saying, that it's not only for the US alone. We have to have, China, India, and other countries come in with it. Now, do you?
But they never will.
Okay, but question. Let's say for whatever reason, we could get the world to cooperate to cut the carbon footprint. Will we be able to save the world? Will this stop the climate change?
No, not at all.
Oh, so you say no matter what we do, it's inevitable?
Yeah, because we are still a planet that is carnivores. 40% of all greenhouse gas are produced by cows. And we can't change that. The numbers are not high enough to change a planet to an agrarian eating green planet. You are going to still have all of these cows producing methane, regardless of what we do.
So it's
and
inevitable.
It's not going to change. It is. And that's why I think that I'm part of the 20%. You said 80%, of scientists.
Right. Yeah, you're part of the minority.
I'm the 20% that says it doesn't matter. And I am of the belief that countries like China, countries like India and Russia understand economics greater than Western countries. China right now, every 57 days is building a nuclear power plant because they are under the assumption that there will be a shortage of gasoline and coal and all the other things that run their power plants. They believe in uranium. They understand that if they become the major producer of energy on this planet, we will all buy energy from China.
Right, but that's an alternative to oil.
Well, it's an alternative to oil because they're already seeing that they can't purchase enough oil to run their factories. So and I've already spoken about this, my suggestion is much simpler. Begin to use geothermal heating of water to generate electricity. Now, our country is unfortunately not producing enough oil. We have to purchase it elsewhere. If we use geothermal heating, we'll be able to replace the oil that we now have to buy overseas. But we have to start right now.
Yeah, but still, the ultimate thing is that if we cannot change, the course of nature, even by cutting back on oil and, as I say, the carbon footprint.
Right.
Yeah,
but that's why I'm saying I have alternatives.
Yeah, but your alternatives won't do anything.
My alternatives will allow our country to function.
Right, but it would do other.
Geothermal has no footprint of its own.
Right, but that's not the major cause of the change. The major cause.
No, but it'll give energy. It'll give energy to our country, and I'm very selfish.
Yeah, for how long?
I want a country forever.
And
geothermal is forever.
But
the weather never runs out.
But the weather is not going to change. The weather
won't change. The weather will change in hundreds of years, as it always has.
Yeah, in those hundreds of years.
It won't be in our lifetime, but it'll go back to where it is what it was 100 years ago.
Yeah, but the planet's going to be uninhabitable.
The planet will not be uninhabitable.
It's almost uninhabitable now.
No, it's not. Don't believe the stuff you're reading.
I'm not reading. Take a look. Listen to the weather forecasts. Take a look what's happening in the Midwest. Take a look what's happening in India. Take a look.
It's all cyclic. It's cyclic.
Right, but the cycles will get more intense.
And then they'll change back to where they were before. That's what our atmosphere does.
Yeah, but that's when the dinosaurs were extinct.
No, they were
They didn't
extinct.
survive.
No. Dinosaurs were extinct because nothing grew for about 30 years.
Mhm.
When the meteor hit the earth, it caused ash and it caused pulverization of land, and the sun was blocked. Nothing grew. Dinosaurs died because they ate things on the food chain and everything died except for
As I say, one good meteor hitting the earth is all you need.
well, that sadly might happen.
I know. Well, what are the chances of that? Is there a number that
Of
you
course
can
there is. Did it happen once?
Right.
Could happen again.
So, but I might have
Hutton's theory of uniformitarianism. Whatever you've seen in the past will happen
to happen again.
Absolutely.
I like what the thing that, and I haven't heard people talk about that thermal energy that we can get when we can dig
Take a
into
look at it. Geothermal, it is done right now in New Mexico, and Denver buys all of its geothermal power from New Mexico right
Yeah,
now.
how come we're not doing more of that?
You could only do it west of the Mississippi where you have a young orogeny.
How about an older orogeny?
The magma's too far down. West of the Mississippi, magma is less than 2 miles beneath the surface.
Well,
So you could drill the 2 miles, have 2,000-degree magma, which will never cool down, always available to heat water to make steam.
well, is there a way of taking this magma and transporting it to other areas?
No. It is underneath the crust.
Right. I mean,
Magma's
but if you take it out from the crust,
It'll cool down.
okay.
This way, you know where it is. You could always get to it. You could always use it to heat the water that you need to run your electro plants.
Right, but that would only be in parts of the only a part of the
West of the Mississippi, which is 2/3 of our country.
How about west of Japan? How about Europe? Can they, is that plate that's still there? Can you
No.
use it?
No,
It's only here.
it's here because we are a much younger geotectonic plate. Is much younger.
Interesting. I got to get more into that with you, but our time has run out.
Oh, that was pretty quick.
No, it was the same amount of time.
I think we covered some stuff that I think is germane.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, what I'd like to do is have you come every week. We talk about so many
I
interesting
know, but
things.
you know what? I am so
I know.
involved in things. But when I come, I give you my all.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Life happens while you're making plans.
Yep.
But
As they say, man plans, God laughs.
Right. Oh, there was a
Have a
thing,
great day.
there was one thing I wanted to talk to you about that my the wife got into. She got an article about this guy from El Salvador, who's called the Salvadorian Schindler. I don't know if you've heard about him.
I have not.
Because it was a story. I'll see if I could send you the Facebook, because it was about, he worked in the Salvadorian embassy, and during World War II, he was giving like Salvadorian citizenship papers to Jews to get out.
Oh,
And supposedly,
I would be interested in seeing that. I have
Yeah.
not heard it. I know of other groups. Raoul Wallenberg did that for many
yeah,
years.
that's
And there was a group in China that did it, and a huge population from Poland wound up in Shanghai.
Yeah.
And
But
I know people that work.
But I think the number that I remember in my head was like 40,000 Jews
Really?
that
I
were
think-
saved.
All right, I'd be interested in hearing it.
Yeah, I'll see if I could send you something. Anyway, you have a great week.
You too.
And
Great seeing everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you next week. Bye. And you're listening, by the way, you're listening to MalcolmPresents.com, Sid and Malcolm. It's a new, we want to do a streaming platform. Tell all
Yeah.
your friends that we're on.
Done.
Bye.